the cash grants for our students. We were just showing you some of them who are in attendance today here to listen to the President as he addresses the 12th sitting of Parliament. It is a special sitting. Earlier we heard the Speaker just reminding the members of the House. So they are actually in suspension now as they await the President's arrival. And on Monday coming, the President will journey to the northwest of Guyana, Region 1, to commission the brand new Northwest Secondary School. Brand new schools being rehabilitated or refurnished across all of our regions right now, Shaquan.
Yeah, and I think, of course, we've seen the students there, and I know that the students, this is a really good opportunity for them, because I personally believe, Michelle, that our youth involvement in what is happening in government and governance is a very, very important component of our development.
Yes.
And to see that happen, of course, to see our students out here in their numbers is a truly, truly remarkable thing as we just count down the time before His Excellency arrives here at the Arthur Chung Conference Center.
And why the occasion of Parliament? Why could he not just address the nation, per se, from State House? We remind you that Article 67(1) of the Constitution of Guyana highlights the essential collaboration between the executive and the legislature. And in these institutions, yes, they maintain their independence, but they are interconnected and they exist within the context of each other. They must work in concert with each other in the best interests of the nation, Shaquan. So the President's address today to this first sitting of Parliament, because they have been on recess, so the members of Parliament have come back refreshed, recharged, ready to do the business in the best interest of Guyana.
Indeed. Of course, the President's statements are one that I truly look forward to by people across the country, and there's a reason for that, apart from the fact that it shows the unification of the country from in the National Assembly, where you have government members of Parliament and opposition members of Parliament. What you have happening as well as the President's call for unification. We know one of the things that the President has been big about since his assumption of office is the One Guyana mantra, making sure that everybody in Guyana comes together. And we saw in his last speech that call for unification, bringing us all together as one people, one nation, one destiny. And of course, we expect the President to continue to make that call to all Guyanese.
If you're now tuning in, we welcome you because we are moments away from an address to the special sitting of this 12th Parliament of Guyana. As more persons continue to come in here today, it's a buzz of activity. There is persons are just eagerly awaiting what President has to say on this sunny Thursday, and we can see movements here in the foyer of the Arthur Chung Conference, which signals the imminent arrival of the head of state.
Of course, we just saw stepping outside the Chief of Defense Staff, who is here as well, but also we saw the Chief Fire Officer Acting Gregory Wickham and a number of other defense officials as well as individuals from the Parliament office. We saw just a few moments ago as well the mace of the National Assembly being hoisted outside in anticipation of the President's arrival. So the President can't be too far away, Michelle.
And just at the entrance of the door, the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Manzoor Nadir, the Clerk of the National Assembly, Mr. Sherlock Isaacs, Senior Minister in the Office of the President, the Honorable Dr. Ashni Singh, just in the foyer, and as you rightfully said, just outside the heads of the joint services. So indeed, the atmosphere, you could feel the energy rising literally as we prepare for the President's arrival. And again, the address today, it is important. It's not just another address. It is a testament to shared responsibility, a collective commitment to the people of Guyana, a symbol of a unified approach to governance as we think about all of our 10 regions, the people in the diaspora who are eager to work as we continue in this transformation that we are experiencing.
And the President himself and we would expect even today that he would make that call again, maybe. But the president himself has urged members of the diaspora to come home to Guyana and participate in the transformation of the country, like you rightfully said, Michelle. And we have seen that happen in a number of areas. Of course, the president's comments are in line with the government's policy, which was outlined 4 years ago, to make sure that there is massive infrastructural development across the country. In his 2021 speech, the president spoke about an interlink between Mandela Avenue and Diamond, and that was just not talk. And people who live on the East Bank can say without any doubt that what the president said in 2021 came to fruition in the form of that Heroes Highway that we also enjoy from time to time, particularly those residents on the East Bank.
Absolutely. And Shaquan, we're not tooting our own horn.
Yeah.
We have been recognized regionally,
Yep.
internationally. Just last month, the president was honored with the 2024 CARICOM Global Leader Award.
Yep.
Yet another international accolade that speaks to his leadership, his vision, and the hard work that is required. But it's not just him alone.
Yeah.
This important and august body in that of the parliament is very important in terms of the legislation required to complement all the transformation unfolding across all 10 regions.
And one of those pieces of legislation that we've seen come to fruition here in Guyana, and even subsequently after the president's speech on the 12th of February 2021, was the Natural Resources Fund Act. An act that makes sure that we safeguard our oil and gas revenues and make sure that they go into the places that are necessary for national development. We've seen that happen through the use of the resources to build important infrastructural upgrades to make sure that we have new highways, new hospitals, new schools. And all of that has happened simply because there is a legislative framework in place to guide that kind of expenditure. And that is one of the roles of the parliament, to enact those pieces of legislation, and that is just one example of what we've seen so far.
Hence the importance of this moment that we are in. It feels, it looks like just another Thursday, but it isn't by no short measure. What the president of Guyana says today, we as citizens are allowed to hold him accountable, like we did when he spoke at the ceremonial opening of this parliament.
Yep.
We as citizens, and that is why this is an important moment for Guyana. The Prime Minister of Guyana, the Honorable Mark Phillips, who had a birthday just last weekend, has joined the welcoming party comprising of the Speaker, the Clerk of the National Assembly, as we prepare for the arrival of the President.
Yeah, so all eyes are there, as you can see on your screen, those officials just spoken about by Michelle, but we've also seen a number of other individuals arrive here in anticipation of the President's speech. Apart from the ministers and members of Parliament who are here, we see heads of government agencies. I can see right within my peripheral vision the head of the Guyana Livestock and Development Authority, Dr. Dwight Walron, who is here. Of course, the head of the National Drainage and Irrigation Authority, Mr. Lionel Wordsworth, who is also here as well. And so you have a number of governmental figures here, regional executive officers, permanent secretaries, everybody here in anticipation of the President's comments, which will happen in just a few moments.
And just August, when the administration marked their 4th anniversary, they gave the mark at 90% being able to fulfill the manifesto promises.
Yep.
So today it's about reflection, but certainly it is about what is to come. What is next for Guyana? We're looking really good, Shaquan. It feels good. We look around, all of us, not just here in the capital city of Georgetown, but across all 10 of our regions. And as we rightfully said, the President, the administration, recognizing also the support we get from the diaspora and their involvement in our transformation.
If we were to step back a little bit, Michelle, to talk about what the Vice President said we should anticipate, one of the things we should anticipate in the President's speech in relation to cost of living measures, we can reflect, as you rightfully said, on a number of the policy interventions that were made by government since assuming office, even contextualizing all of the issues that we faced globally in terms of the Russia-Ukraine war, in terms of COVID-19, that have significantly hampered a lot of countries' economic growth. We have still been able to see a high GDP a rise in our GDP, our economic growth soaring, and that is because of government's major policies that we've seen implemented. We've seen government make sure that the excise tax was removed on fuel, the removal of VAT on machinery, agricultural equipment to boost food and agricultural production. We've seen, of course, a number of cash grants that were given to support families, particularly those children living with disabilities, receiving one of those cash grants in 2022, and a number of those other measures geared at making sure that Guyanese can tackle this issue that the entire world is facing in relation to cost of living.
And on this Thursday, which we already established, it's Mental Health Day, it is also Breast Cancer Awareness Month, or just Cancer Awareness Month in October. And still on the same theme of social development, we think about the 7 new hospitals that are going up or will go up soon, access to free education, the number of scholarships via gold. You are preparing for graduation next month from the University of Guyana. What about the loan write-off? I am a product of the gold program, just graduated earlier this year. So many others can attest to what you and I have experienced. We're not just presenting another broadcast, because the president, we are speaking as citizens who are reaping the benefits of what's available to everyone, not just us.
And we've seen Gold award more than 20,000 scholarships already when the promise was 20,000. And so it also shows a direct intention by our Guyanese people to educate and upskill themselves. And that is only speaking about Gold, Michelle. We haven't even spoken about the Board of Industrial Training or the Women's Investment and Innovation Network, which has trained thousands of other people in things like welding and fabrication, heavy duty equipment machinery, electrical installation, all of those things being geared at supporting the development that is happening here in Guyana. And so we anticipate a number of other things coming out from the president's announcements later today that will make sure that Guyanese people continue to uplift themselves, that we continue to fight against the difficulties in relation to poverty and climate change, as that is, of course, one of the pillars of the president's goals in office: climate security, food security, and energy security as well.
Absolutely. And we do all of this in a sustainable manner. It's not just about building hospitals, building schools, building bridges, building roads. You know, we have to look at the bigger picture, and who better to give us that vision than the president? Already in our conversation this morning, Shaquan, we have touched on areas of sustainable development, climate action, human rights, health, education, natural resources, even constitutional reform, because that is a big one. Constitutional reform. It's been just almost 2 decades or so since there's been any reform to the Constitution of Guyana. So clearly our society is evolving. There is need for us to relook the Constitution and make the necessary changes. But you don't do that in isolation. You have to do it in concert with the people, the citizens of this country. So we have to be in the regions, the members of the Constitutional Reform team, both from government and opposition, talking with the citizens across all of our regions.
And that pokes at the heart of democracy, which the National Assembly, of course, represents that level of democracy in our country. We've seen, of course, the government place specific emphasis on reforming even things like the election, the Representation of the People Act, in making sure that the statements of poll and all of the election material are published on websites, publicly available in the view of transparency and making sure that these governmental agencies are accountable. And that is just one part of all of the other legislative changes that have been made. The new legislation that has been passed, including the single window system that was passed through the Ministry of Housing and Water, which sees easier access to important documentation, permits and otherwise, to make sure that development can occur. We can see on your screen right now the arrival of the motorcade, the presidential motorcade, as he arrives into the compound of the Arthur Chung Conference Center.
And even as he's coming in, we see a nice clear public road, or this thoroughfare getting into the Arthur Chung Conference Center. But we think about the hard work of the joint services, the police, the defense, fire service, prison service, and indeed the movement now of the officials from Parliament, the Prime Minister of Guyana, as the President is going to exit his vehicle, climb the steps into the Arthur Chung Conference Center, and take us closer to the moment when he will address the special sitting of Parliament.
Of course. You can see a number of officials moving forward. Of course, the members of the media active here as well. We've seen the members of the media turn out in their numbers to witness the arrival of His Excellency. You can see on your screen, we have a beautiful drone shot of the arrival of the President, but you will have some other shots that will come on your screen in just a few moments. The President there stepping out of the car to arrive to deliver that address to the 12th Parliament of the National Assembly of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana.
Just moments before 11 o'clock, just reminding you that we are awaiting with bated breath as we see His Excellency donned in, of course, a black suit with a red tie, making his way through the door of the Arthur Chung Conference Center. Before him, the mace bearer and the officials of Parliament, and there he comes, a very stern but an important, because he knows the magnitude of this address he's about to make, greeting others as he makes his way, passing the joint services, as they would do. They give the salute to the President, and as always, Shaquan, the President never opts to use an elevator. He will climb the stairs to make his way into the dome and for the special sitting.
I'm happy you made mention of that stern look on the President's face. Members of the audience and members of the public who are joining us for this sitting, all standing in respect to the President as he makes that entrance into the National Assembly, into the dome of the Arthur Chung Conference Center. A very, very important occasion for the President. As we mentioned before, this is his second address since his inauguration in August of 2020, the first of which being on February 12, 2021. And so it means that this particular presentation by the President is going to be one that we can indeed look forward to, and of course one that is highly anticipated by the country at large.
When your country becomes an economic powerhouse, the responsibility rests on you, on your shoulders. And we are now seeing the President making his way into the dome of the Parliament. As
Mr. President and Mr. Speaker.
Since COVID of 2020, and we will now head into Parliament, where the Speaker of the House will take the proceedings from here.
Thank you, honorable members. Please be seated. Honorable members, on your behalf and on my own, I extend the heartiest of welcome to our President, His Excellency, Dr. Irfaan Ali. Mr. President, it's an honor to receive you once again. Over the past 4 years, you have not only demonstrated your capacity to lead this nation forward by leaps and bounds, but, as Shakespeare said, still retain the common touch. And so, Your Excellency, it's an honor for me to invite you at this time to address the National Assembly.
Mr. Speaker, our Prime Minister, Chancellor of the Judiciary, Vice President, members of Parliament, members of the diplomatic community, members of the media, fellow Guyanese. Today, I am pleased to exercise the right, indeed, the duty accorded to me under Article 67(1) of the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, which states, and I quote, "The President may at any time attend and address the National Assembly." As part of the nation's democratic covenant, this August Assembly is tasked with the responsibility of passing laws, overseeing and interrogating government's actions and policies, and in representing and advancing the interests of the people. If the National Assembly is to effectively perform this vital task, then you, its members, must be apprised of the present and future plans and policies of our government. Today, I'm here before you to unveil a comprehensive, brief understanding of the development trajectory for Guyana for the remaining years of this decade. A decade that is the most transformative and decisive in our nation's history. It is this decade that will irreversibly reshape the contours of Guyana's future. However, Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank those among us who had the responsibility of leading this nation during turbulent times, restoring democracy, building back from a heavily indebted country to a country with viability, and expanding our economy and positioning this country on the global scene without the resources of oil and gas. I think we need to applaud our leaders of the past. Responsible governance and national development require forward thinking and planning. As such, my government has deployed a blueprint for the strategic direction of the country for the remainder of this decade and beyond. One that benefits all Guyanese, regardless of their ethnicity, class, or political beliefs. It is most worthwhile that we cast our minds back briefly to the circumstances under which this 12th Parliament came into being. The year was 2020, and the world was facing the worst public health crisis in living memory. The COVID-19 pandemic had already taken more than 1.8 million lives worldwide, of which more than 840,000 were in the Americas, including 164 deaths recorded right here at home. The world was almost entirely in lockdown, and so was Guyana, with every aspect of productive activity and daily life either ground to a complete halt or disrupted into unrecognizable shadow of what we have long come to assume that normalcy would look like. The global economy was in recession, and the Guyanese non-oil economy was similarly in free fall. Those in salaried employment feared for their jobs, and those in unsalaried occupations, such as the self-employed, found themselves without any income at all. Public markets were closed, public transportation ground to a halt, public gatherings were prohibited, and public spaces were empty. Where city and town centers had bustled for decades and centuries, ghost towns now loomed in ominous and morbid silence. The world was in a crisis of unknown and frightening proportion, and the Guyanese public healthcare system was unprepared and unequipped to deal with the public health dimensions of this crisis. To make matters worse, Guyana was reeling at the time from 5 years of APNU AFC's broken promises, bad economic policies, 2 years of defiance of a no-confidence motion lawfully passed in this very House, and 5 months of defiance of the will of the people in the March 2020 elections. After 5 years of broken promises by the then government, the people of Guyana had voted resoundingly for credibility and competence to replace broken promises and trust, and for economic oppression to be replaced by people-centered economic growth and development, and the creation of economic opportunity for all Guyanese. But by the time August 2020 finally arrived, severe damage had already been done to our credibility as a nation, to our economy across all productive sectors, and to the well-being of our Guyanese brothers and sisters who bore the brunt of these domestic political realities, which served to immensely amplify the toll of the pandemic. This was the world and the Guyana in which this 12th Parliament was convened in September 2020. Mr. Speaker, I mentioned 5 years of broken promises. The following are but a few examples that put into perspective the APNU AFC's apparently studied refusal throughout 2015 to 2020 to deliver anything they had promised the people of Guyana in the run-up to the 2015 elections. The promise to increase the personal income tax threshold to $100,000. Instead, 5 years later, when they demitted office, the threshold was still at $65,000. The promise to immediately double the level of old age pensions and public assistance and develop a plan to incrementally increase the old age pension to the level of minimum wage. They not only failed to double the old age pension immediately, but even after 5 years in office, this was still not achieved. Further, they removed the electricity and water subsidy to pensioners, imposing further hardships to the elderly. They promised to immediately implement a phased reduction of VAT and the removal of VAT from food and other essentials. Instead, they imposed over 200 taxes and fees, including VAT on water and electricity, basic food items, and household necessities. They promised the liberalization of the telecommunication and ICT sector within the first 100 days. They failed to do this 5 years later. They promised to restore agriculture to its former vibrant self. Instead, in an act of unprecedented callousness, the agriculture sector was neglected and deliberately targeted for destruction. Approximately 7,000 sugar workers were shoved into the breadline. The rice industry was described as private business to deny its support, and drainage and irrigation infrastructure was all but totally abandoned. They promised to prioritize the rehabilitation of the Linden Highway. They failed to do this, and this critical project did not see the light of day until they left office. But the hardships imposed by the APNU AFC on the people of Guyana were not confined to their broken promises. They also deliberately set out implementing a raft of measures whose sole impact was hardship on the Guyanese people. Some of these include stopping the Because We Care cash grant, halting the 1-month discipline services bonus, forcing contracted employees to be transferred to the fixed establishment, ban the importation of motor vehicles over 8 years old, slashing the ceiling for mortgage interest relief from 30 million to 15 million, and increasing drainage and irrigation charges and land rent by as much as 300%. Mr. Speaker, against the backdrop of 5 years of broken promises and callous hardships imposed on the Guyanese people, my government assumed office. Our immediate priorities were to keep the people safe from COVID-19, to rebuild trust in the political system, to equip an unprepared healthcare system to respond to the pandemic, to reopen our economy in a phased manner that would not jeopardize the safety of our people, and to reverse the hardships imposed on the Guyanese people during the previous 5 years. Mr. Speaker, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, my government spent immediately more than $35 billion on correcting and outfitting the Linyandal facility, purchase and importation of PPE and testing kits, purchase and dissemination of COVID-19 vaccines, providing support to families. We did this because we care about the people. We did this to save life. We did this because this is what we are about as a government. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. This people-centered policy-making matrix of the PPP civic government is one that always put the welfare of our people first. On assuming office, some of the measures we implemented to alleviate the impact of imported pressure on the cost of living and on the population included the removal of 200 taxes imposed by the then government, removal of VAT on water and electricity, restoring the VAT zero rate on basic food items and household necessities, implementing the freight cost adjustment for the calculation of import taxes, rolling back freight costs to pre-pandemic level, saving Guyanese consumer a total of $22.8 billion since its implementation. Removing the excise tax on fuel, saving the Guyanese consumer more than $90 billion annually. Mr. Speaker, if we did not implement this measure, that would have been more than $90 billion of additional expenditure transferred to the consumer. We saved this transfer and preserved disposable income. That is what we did with these measures. Ensuring that higher fuel prices did not translate into higher electricity and water bills. Allocating $5 billion in 2022 to measures which include support to farmers, the one-off cash grant to households totaling $1.2 billion, and the $1.2 billion support to our fisher folk. Allocating a further $5 billion in 2023 for additional cost of living support, the one-off cash grant to public servants that benefited 67,000 workers, the one-off cash grant to old age pensioners that benefited 72,000 pensioners, and a one-off $35,000 cash grant for persons with disability benefiting 19,000 persons. We allocated $850 million to support farmers through the procurement of fertilizer. This is what a caring government does. This is what a responsive government does. And in 2024, we allocated a further $7 billion for similar measures, reducing the cost of construction and home ownership, VAT zero rating on certain construction material, removing VAT on building cement, sheetrock, and concrete board, increasing the low-income mortgage loan ceiling to $20 million, increasing the NBS ceiling to $20 million, restoring the ceiling on mortgage interest relief for housing loan to $30 million in 2020. This is how we are promoting prosperity, home ownership, distribution of wealth. This is how the resources and revenue of this country is being spent every single day to uplift the lives of people, to expand national wealth, to expand personal wealth, to expand community wealth. This is what the People's Progressive Party civic government is all about. In order to further support productivity and increase the productive assets of our country, we reduce the cost of connectivity by removing VAT on data for residential and individual use, remove VAT on cellular phones and essential cell phone accessories. We reduce the cost of transportation in the hinterland by removing duty on ATVs and removing VAT on hinterland travel. These are real policies. These are real action taken by a government that believes in service to the people. At the same time, some of the measures my government have implemented to increase disposable income to the Guyanese household since assuming office include increasing the income tax threshold from 65,000 to 100,000, removing 39,000 persons from the income tax net, and increasing disposable income by $9.4 billion annually. The payment of the cumulative salary increase granted over the period is in excess of 23%. Restoring the Because We Care Crash grant and increasing it to 40,000 this year, over 200,000 school children are now benefiting from this investment of $23.1 billion. We implemented a series of salary adjustments to teachers, employees in the public health care system, and members of the discipline services. These measures benefited over 18,000 public sector employees. Additionally, we concluded a historic agreement in August 2024 with the Guyana's Teachers Union, under which teachers will receive salary increases over the next 3 years as follows: 10% in 2024, 8% in 2025, and 9% in 2026. Additionally, adjustments were agreed to several other allowances paid to teachers, including the remote area incentive and allowances paid to teachers with postgraduate qualification. We restored the 1-month tax-free year-end bonuses to the discipline services, placing over $6 billion in the hands of the members of our discipline services for the period 2020 to 2024. We don't demonstrate our love and commitment to people by noise. We demonstrate our commitment and love to people by real action, real policy, real intervention. We have granted an accumulated 75% increase in the monthly old age pension. We have more than doubled public assistance payments from 9,000 monthly in 2020 to 19,000 monthly in 2024. We've increased the minimum pension at the National Insurance Scheme. All of these we have done so that our people can have a better and more prosperous life. Mr. Speaker, I take the time to provide these examples, and they really are just a subset of the measures my government has implemented since we assumed office, to make the point that whereas the APNU-AFC's term in office was characterized by promises, again, we are seeing this era of promises from the very people that made these promises that remain unfulfilled and impose hardship on the people of this country. My government term in office has been characterized by tireless efforts to bring relief to the Guyanese people and to improve every aspect of the lives of the Guyanese people. Mr. Speaker, I pause to remind you, this honorable House and the people of Guyana, that we did all of this in just 4 years, recalling that we lost almost 2 of those 4 years to COVID, 2 floods, a drought, and a global supply chain crisis. We managed and deliver all of this under those circumstances. This is a government of efficiency and delivery. Mr. Speaker, trust and commitment means something to us. In response to the global cost of living crisis, the government has implemented a series of measures aimed at cushioning the financial burden on citizens and safeguarding the quality of life. The measures include, a few of them: restoration of zero-rated status on food items, reverse the 220% increase in drainage and irrigation fees, and 600% increase in land rental, saving $1.4 billion annually to the farmers, removal of VAT on fertilizer, agrochemical, pesticide, and key poultry industry input. Yes, not so long ago, VAT was imposed on all of these input. Invested in shade houses, modernizing the ecosystem for agriculture. Negotiated low mortgage interest rates for homeowners, moving down by more than 3 percentage points. Waived taxes on building material, increased the mortgage interest ceiling, as I said before. Reintroduced measures that safeguarded the disposable income of our people. Today, Mr. Speaker, I wish to announce the following additional measures in safeguarding quality of life and securing disposable income. On top of all the measures we have already announced, I also wish to announce now a one-off cash grant of $200,000 to every household in Guyana. A one-off cash grant of $200,000 to every household in Guyana. This will see an injection of $60 billion of disposable income into the Guyanese households countrywide. We will begin this one-off cash grant payment to household instantaneously. Further, in securing purchasing power and disposable income of our people, I wish to make this additional announcement. In addition to the various increases awarded to public sector employees over the years since we assumed office, including the special adjustments made to the salaries of certain categories of teachers, public health care workers, and members of the disciplined forces, I now wish to announce that by the end of 2025, no public sector employee will be working for less than $100,000 monthly. This will see the disposable income of these employees increasing by more than $1 billion. This is how we build prosperity. This is how we reduce disparity. And this is how we build equity in the system. Real action, real work, real policies, all in the interests of our people. Mr. Speaker, Vision 2030 is not just a policy framework. It embodies the dreams of generations of Guyanese who have long envisioned a nation where progress is a lived reality. This vision pays tribute to past struggles while laying a foundation for a future where every citizen can thrive amidst the challenge of a rapidly changing world. It addresses urgent needs like food security, climate resilience, environmental sustainability, and energy independence through an integrated approach that leverages our natural resources responsibly. Vision 2030 is about securing our future, making Guyana a leader in climate-smart solutions, and ensuring our food systems withstand global disruptions. At the heart of Vision 2030 is a commitment to transparency and accountability in governance, with institutions delivering high-quality services in healthcare, education, infrastructure, and security. The roadmap prioritizes sustainable job creation that uplifts the economy while providing people with dignity and purpose. We see the private sector as an engine of wealth creation, driving transformation in agriculture, energy, services, alongside government efforts. On the global stage, Vision 2030 positions Guyana as a leader not a follower, positions Guyana as a partner with the rest of the world, not as a challenger. Our vision is to create friendship and partnership. It's to deploy our human asset in a tangible way so that we will be part of the solution for global problems and not add to the environment of hostility and the environment of decay that is existing globally. Mr. Speaker, since assuming office, my government has restarted the agenda to strengthen the institutions that are critical to ensuring transparency and accountability in government operations, as well as safeguarding the integrity of our financial systems. In relation to parliamentary oversight and public accountability, we have successfully moved amendments to strengthen the bipartisan nature of the deliberations of the Public Accounts Committee. We have strengthened systems to ensure compliance with our public financial management laws and regulations, to minimize the instances of queries by the Auditor General of Guyana through corrective actions. The most recent Auditor General's report showed substantial reduction and severity of queries, reflecting greater compliance with the financial laws. Mr. Speaker, open competitive tendering is essential to ensuring transparency in public procurement, as well as to promote greater competition and the maximization of value for money in government expenditure. Amongst the initiatives implemented to strengthen public procurement since returning to office, the National Tender Procurement and Tender Administration Board has conducted an extensive review of all standard bidding documents and finalized a new set of bidding documents. Let me say, we are the first to recognize that the tender system requires further modernization and reform, and we are committed to this modernization and reform. Let us be the first to acknowledge that we must build a paperless system, a system that is less reliant on human interference, a system in which public accountability continues to be open and transparent. That is the system we believe in, and that is the system we're committed to building. We are not about hiding our heads away from challenges and problems. We are about confronting issues, confronting problems, but more importantly, finding the solution and building the institution to support the development trajectory of our country. Additionally, since our assumption of office, a new Public Procurement Commission has been appointed, and that entity has been discharging its important constitutional function as in a rigorous and thorough manner. At the same time, a new bid protest committee has also been appointed as an additional layer of protection to safeguard the integrity of public procurement system. As we look ahead, and let me say, our commitment to expanding the procurement opportunities for every segment of the Guyanese population is second to none. Our commitment in encouraging incubation of new forms, new businesses, new service provider is second to none. And why do I say this? Because it's a matter of fact. Already, since we came into government in 2020, more than 3,000 new businesses have started supplying works and services to government in a wide range of areas. And whilst we are on the matter of reforming the procurement system, we recognize also that the system must support small contractors, regional contractors, national contractors, and that system must be skewed in such a way that these segment of service deliverers in the public procurement system are not locked out, but the system presents institutionally and systemically opportunities through which they can also evolve and be successful. That is how the system has to be built. That is how we'll build regional capacity. That is how we'll build national capacity. That is how we're going to expand national capacity. And we must not be in a position where the competition is within our borders. We must be able to build contractors and contracting capability that must also compete for regional and international opportunities, just as international and regional contractors are competing for opportunities here. Nothing stops us from achieving this. We must use this opportunity in building our own capacity locally to enable us to build the best standards, the highest standards, so that we will be competitors in the regional and international sphere of opportunities. Additionally, we intend to deploy digital solutions in pursuit of a more transparent and efficient procurement system. These will include the use of digital e-procurement platforms to publicize government procurement opportunities and facilitate electronic submission of bids, all as a part of the move towards a more paperless system. Recognizing the growing significance of the oil and gas sector in our economy, and in the interest of ensuring the sector is managed in a national interest, and the revenues earned by government from the sector are managed in the most transparent manner possible, we have taken a number of actions to ensure compliance with the highest standard of transparency in the sector. I want to assure you that we will never be in a position of conflict of interest. We have overhauled the legal framework governing the sector, including with the enactment of a new Natural Resource Fund, the NRF Act, which came into operation on the 1st of January 2022. The new enhanced NRF Act introduces a vastly strengthened governance architecture that lays the foundation for transparent management of the NRF. Some of its most important features are the establishment of a board of directors in whom are now vested the powers that was previously. These powers were previously overwhelmingly concentrated in the hands of the Minister of Finance. We removed the power from the hands of the Minister of Finance and rest it in an independent board of directors. That is transparency. That is accountability. We have a system that now requires all petroleum revenues be deposited in the NRF to prevent the previous perversity whereby a signing bonus was siphoned off under the APNU AFC and hidden in a secret bank account that bypassed all parliamentary processes for scrutiny of public money. Under the new NRF Act, not only must all petroleum revenue be paid into the NRF, but they must also be reported by publication in the official gazette, and the associated notification must be tabled in this honorable House, failing which the Minister of Finance is liable to 10 years imprisonment. Stipulating that no withdrawals can be made from the fund and no expenditure can be made from the fund except with prior parliamentary approval. No payment or expenditure can be made from this fund without parliamentary approval. You will all be in the know. There is no hidden agenda in this People's Progressive Party civic government. We've introduced a simple, transparent formula for determining the ceiling on annual withdrawals from the NRF, stipulating that the amount to be withdrawn annually within the ceiling be determined and approved as part of the annual budgetary process. Commentators conveniently lose sight of this, the reality. Because that reality does not fit into their narrative. Mr. Speaker, additionally, in keeping with our commitment to transparency in the natural resource sector, we have taken steps to ensure that Guyana is in good standing with the extractive industries Transparency Initiative, EITI. In this regard, Guyana's 5th EITI report for fiscal year 2021 was published on the GYEITI website on December 29, 2023. The timely publication of this report is indicative of Guyana's continued commitment to the EITI initiative. On the very important issue of preserving the integrity of our financial systems, Guyana has a long history of proactively putting measures in place to ensure we build a robust AML-CFT regime in line with FATF recommendations and international standards. It is therefore a high priority of my government to ensure all necessary legislation and measures are in place to effectively play our part in the international fight against financial crimes. Guyana continues to strengthen its AML-CFT framework. Guyana underwent its 4th round mutual evaluation by the Caribbean Financial Action Task Force, and in June of this year, the evaluation report was adopted. Through this evaluation, Guyana demonstrated that we have mechanisms for effective supervision and preventative measures to enable authorities to combat money laundering and terrorist financing, which ensure that financial institutions and designated non-financial business professions are effective gatekeepers to minimize the risk of abuse for AML-CFT purposes. These efforts to safeguard the integrity of our financial system are even more essential now than ever before, given our country's growing stature and visibility in the global economy and global financial system. We are also pursuing reforms at the Guyana Revenue Authority as we seek to build an institution that is fit for purpose. Over the last 4 years, we have seen marked improvement in efficiency. We have commenced the building of a simplified policy and procedures framework in administering the country tax, trade, and border laws. We have invested in an IT infrastructure whereby taxpayers are able to utilize online payment methods. During the period 2020 to 2024, more than $189 billion in taxes was paid through this online platform. The authority intention is to become paperless by 2030. The electronic single window is being tested for implementation by year-end. This will remove many of the existing bottleneck and bureaucratic delays. Investment in new and updated scanner, drones, and AI, use of body cam to reduce leakages and aid accountability and transparency. The decentralization of services, digitization of records, electronic filing, and search system are all part of the modernization of the tax authority. To ensure that we can effectively deliver a tax system and authority that is state-of-the-art and modern, we are also investing in the capacity building of our human resource asset, especially as they must now administer the oil and gas sector. Our focus is to ensure our taxation architecture is system-based, and this is important, not a system that is driven by human interference, but an architecture that is system-based. One that will reduce human discretion, the deployment of AI and digitization to improve efficiency, reduce bureaucracy, and improve transparency. Mr. Speaker, you are well aware of the robust and aggressive legislative agenda of this government. And it is important that the population and the world at large understand the context of this legislative agenda. Because it is this legislative agenda that would lay the bedrock for the implementation of Vision 2030, ensuring that the laws are relevant, ensuring that the system is relevant, ensuring that regulations are created to effect a system that would allow us to achieve the aspirations we set ourselves. The efforts are aimed at modernizing Guyana's legal and regulatory framework to support the country's development trajectory and achieve Vision 2030. And I can go through a series of legislation that we have already enacted to aid transparency, accountability, and to ensure that benefits in the development trajectory of our country are continuously transferred to the Guyanese people. Take, for example, Mr. Speaker, the local content legislation that we passed. That legislation has allowed more than 65% of the workforce in the oil and gas sector to be Guyanese. Almost 70% of whom are women. We now have 18,000 Guyanese working on the offshore oil rig. We have created more than $2 billion US, more than $2 billion of business. $2 billion US of business for local enterprises, small and medium size. The legislation was carefully thought out because we understood how important the legislative framework was in creating these opportunities for Guyanese. Today, as a result of the local content law, we can celebrate these successes. And let me say that the law is currently ready for review so that we will be able to evaluate what additional services can be added to the list for local content providers and how we can expand existing services. The law was not built without an understanding of the future. That is why that feature was an important part of this law. In order to ensure that we build an oil and gas sector that is resilient and one that is in keeping with our LCDS trajectory, we are also enacting new laws and passed new laws to deal with oil spill prevention and management bill. That will soon be introduced, and this bill would have the highest international standards. Public health legislation has also advanced, including the Human Organ and Tissue Transplant Act and the Mental Health Protection and Promotion Act. But these acts were not just passed in vacuum. Today, right here in Guyana, we are performing organ transplant in our healthcare system. This would not have been possible if the legislative architecture was not there to support this. We are now encouraging researchers, investors, and developers to come here to establish Center of Excellence for Stem Cell Research and stem cell application in the global healthcare system. We are clear on the direction we want this country to go. And in that clarity, we have defined the framework, the structural changes, the institutional changes, the mechanics that are essential in fostering and developing this framework in the interests of the Guyanese people. Further, laws like the Data Protection Act and Digital Identity Card Act support the transition to a digital economy. And Mr. Speaker and friends, fellow Guyanese, we cannot be afford to be left behind in this fastly changing digital world. We have to apply and adopt to the best practices and best technology now so that we will be competitive and we will be part of a changing, dynamic global system. The government has also focused on food security and safety with agricultural legislation and has modernized commercial laws, including the Hire Purchase Act, the Real Estate Agent and Broker Act, to support economic growth. Financial reforms will enable easier borrowing and international banking presence in Guyana, while improvement in business registration, insolvency, and stock exchange aim to create a modern corporate environment. We have to admit that the present structure and system cannot meet the growth trajectory of our country. It lacks the sophistication, it lacks the bandwidth. We recognize this, and that is why we are not only committing to changing it, we are taking firm action to change it in the interest of our economy, our nation, and our people. The government has strengthened national security and the justice system with new laws and reforms, such as enhancing the anti-money laundering measures, road safety, and the upcoming bills addressing cyberspace, firearms, and violent offenses. A Constitution Reform Commission is reviewing the nation's fundamental document to enhance governance, democracy, and citizens' rights. Significant changes to electoral laws have been implemented to protect the integrity of elections. And the laws will now hold everyone accountable for their action in electoral processes. We cannot afford another 2020. We cannot risk once again the credibility of this country. We cannot risk again the integrity of this country by a few who would like to see our credibility and integrity damaged at their own selfish desires. Despite these achievements, further efforts are needed, such as developing a modern regulatory framework for port facility to support the expanding maritime trade and tourism. Yes, and we know that Vision 2030 includes the building out of a maritime economy, one that must focus on the dredging of the Demerara River, one that will focus on the deepwater port, and all the additional development that is associated with such an investment. We are aware of this, and we are continuously working on implementing and ensuring the planning process to the achievement of these outcomes are in place. These legislative efforts are laying the groundwork for the robust, inclusive development that Guyana envisions will be enacted by 2030. For example, we have constructed a new comprehensive and modern regulatory network in respect to our port facilities to accommodate the massive expansion in commercial maritime activity. Port security and integrity is also key to this. And that is why we are working with our international partners, the US and the UK, in ensuring that we build a maritime sector that secures our port, that ensures the integrity and safety of our port, that ensures our port facilities are operating at the highest international standards. Mr. Speaker, maintenance of the rule of law and access to justice are fundamental prerequisites in a modern Guyana, which is in the making. As a result, from August 2020 to present, we have made billions of dollars of investment in the justice sector. We have built courthouses, appointed judges, magistrates, invested in technology, invested in research and development, training, all to ensure we have a judicial system that is functional, fair, and just. A functional, fair, and just judicial system must be one that is efficient, one that is reliable, one that is consistent, one that is consistent, and one in which the population can repose great confidence in the manner in which it administers justice and delivers justice. These are important prerequisites for a modern economy in securing investment and sending the right international signals. Over the last year alone, we have appointed 12 magistrates, 3 land court judges, 10 high court judges. This is the most judicial appointment that has ever been made in our country's history, most of whom are female. Mr. Speaker, I wish now to turn our attention to an important part of the future. And this is addressing the digital economy. We have already started the important foundational work in creating a digital economy. Today, I stand before you with a vision of an era where we'll harness the power of digital technology and innovation to continue the upliftment of our citizens, our services, and government institutions. No longer constrained by geography or the limitations of the past, our government is ready to lead the charge into this digital future. Digital Guyana envisions a thriving citizen-centric digital ecosystem that will enhance education, foster innovation, embrace digitization, and advance equity. Led by a robust infrastructure, we want to lead efforts in the delivery of effective, accountable, secure, and inclusive digital services across every sector. Mitigate the risk of being left behind globally and advance sustainable economic and social development in Guyana. My government's vision for a digital Guyana encompasses advancement and innovation in digital education, digital incubation, digital transformation, digital leadership, data sovereignty, and citizenship. Bringing digital education to our population has already commenced under our government with the launch of several programs, including the One Guyana Digital Initiative, where more than 2,000 Guyanese are focused on front-end and back-end technology with job placement opportunities on completion of training. This training is done free of cost. The 150,000 Guyana Coders Initiative, the Guyana Coursera platform, which was launched in March 2024, now gives 400,000 of our citizens free access to 6,000 courses at an annual cost of $1.4 million. The grant of more than 29,000 scholarships online through the GOLD program, valued at $2.9 billion in the last 3 years. Importantly, 21,000 of those receiving scholarship of the 29,000 are women. The government is moving to establish the Guyana Digital School to create a new and innovative learning environment for our students across the country, giving every child the same access to the same quality of teaching and material. The digital school will be resource like any brick and mortar facility, with the added benefit of using artificial intelligence to support the learning process. It will be equipped with the entire Guyana curriculum from nursery to grade 12, all textbooks and teaching materials online, tutors from country and AI to review assessments and generate development reports, online PTA meetings, online extracurricular activity. It will cater for teaching entrepreneurial, real-life skills and cultural classes, an electronic nursing and accounting school, remedial education in evenings and for adults, and most importantly, all the current assessment like NGSA and CXC. More importantly, in fulfilling our promise of ensuring our prosperity must rebound to the prosperity of this CARICOM region, this Guyana Digital School will also be available for CARICOM citizens. Our Get Safe online partnership and programs to teach fundamental digital skills, even to those who did not complete formal education, will ensure that no one is left behind in the digital transition. We'll continue the Gold Scholarship Program, invest in research and innovation, establish centers of excellence for digital research, promoting innovation and collaboration between academia, industry, and government. Already, we have interventions where all teachers are trained to use various ICT tools and strategies, providing schools with appropriate equipment and software, reforming school curricula for the development of ICT proficiency, providing incentive for training in ICT, and providing community-based training for the use of computers. Digital incubation is also an important part of the strategy. We are nurturing a culture of innovation through digital incubation, with the expertise of industry experts like John Chambers, the former CEO of Cisco Systems, and Haas School of Business, University of California. Our government will create an environment to help SME entrepreneurs use technology to build their startups and thrive both domestically and beyond. We want to create the framework and provide support for young people, women, and persons of determination to access funding, robust training, and global markets for the local products and services. Establish smart villages to grow in our natural habitats, leveraging digital infrastructure and business model approaches. Engage the local banking system on how to further support this initiative. It should be noted, Mr. Speaker, that the local banking sector has been working with government to help SMEs and young entrepreneurs in many ways. For a matter of fact, we have seen a drastic reduction of interest rate for agro-businesses to 4% and 3.5% in some cases. This is not accidental. This is as a result of our policy intervention, of our policy direction, of our policy matrix that is encouraging investment, but more importantly, giving confidence in every sector of our economy. Mr. Speaker, through technology, our government is in the process of modernizing our industries to create more jobs, improve efficiency, and ensure sustainable growth. We are currently working with ICA to rehabilitate and restructure the Guyana School of Agriculture to create the first real-time data analysis center of excellence in agriculture within the region. We are working with our healthcare system to be powered by e-health technologies. We are also creating agriculture innovation hub with emphasis on research and development, digital agriculture, precision farming, and the use of advanced technology. It will have an agribusiness component to facilitate entrepreneurship, all of this with a focus on youth and women. Mr. Speaker, we have started using drones to help in the fields, to disperse seeds and fertilizer. We are transforming and modernizing the poultry sector with innovative solutions like tunnel houses, and we are building out high-value crop potential with hydroponics. We will continue to integrate more smart farming technologies and digital schools to increase digital tools to increase productivity, optimize resource use, and ensure food security. In forestry, we are already examining the application of digital solutions to manage natural resource sustainability, utilizing data-driven approaches for conservation and resource allocation. We already have one of the more reliable and sophisticated methods of ensuring our forestry harvesting rate is one of the lowest globally. I'm giving these examples, Mr. Speaker, so that you and all members of this House and all of Guyana would understand the magnitude of work that has already commenced in the transformation of this economy. Many times, we do not get the time to discuss these ideas and policies and programs that we are pursuing to ensure we have a modern, state-of-the-art economy. The banking sector also is benefiting from tremendous transformation in terms of digitization as we seek to create a modern financial services by promoting digital banking, fintech innovations, and financial inclusion for all citizens. We are also working on the digitization of logistics and e-commerce, strengthening digital logistics network, creating the infrastructure to connect businesses and consumers more efficiently. Governance services and government services is also undergoing tremendous transformation as we pursue this new digital platform. We're transforming our public service by digitalizing processes, improving accessibility, transparency, and efficiency for all citizens. We have the National Support Service Platform, which will be launched soon, that would be an internal mechanism to test the level of service, to hold people accountable, and to ensure that investment we are making in public service is delivering the type of quality of care that we intend for it to deliver. We must ensure that as salaries increases and conditions improve, that all of us, without exception, who are tasked with public service, understand that we have a responsibility to deliver quality public service regardless of the mood we're in, regardless of our thought process at the time, or regardless of how we feel about the situation. Our duty is to deliver quality public service and quality service to the people of this country. And the digital economy and digital system that we are building will hold people accountable to ensure that there is traceability for all our actions, there is traceability in the way in which we carry out public service. This is an important part of the service delivery we are building. Mr. Speaker, within the first weeks of government, we have liberalized the telecommunications sector and removed VAT on data, resulting in the cost of dedicated bandwidth decreasing by 95%. More fiber optic cables have terminated in Guyana, and Guyana is one of the first Caribbean countries to deploy 5G technology. These are accomplishments we should be proud of. These are accomplishments that we earned through hard work and sound policy making, and I congratulate all involved. We have built and operationalized 121 ICT hubs in the hinterland, with an additional 26 in progress. Mr. Speaker, we have one of the most aggressive and transformative digital economy in the world today. The level of aggression in which we are pursuing the digital opportunity is second to none. We have introduced the use of satellite connection to our digital broadband infrastructure throughout Guyana to ensure that all Guyanese, especially those in rural and remote areas, have access to reliable, high-speed internet and other digital services. In healthcare, we've introduced e-health services to improve healthcare delivery, data management, patient care across the country. Using technology, our vision is to make Guyana the epicenter of regional healthcare with advanced medical infrastructure, specialized treatment, research and innovation, referral hubs, access to education and training, and emergency and critical care. Mr. Speaker, we are also building the electronic health record, which will go live in 2025 and fully deploy nationally long before 2030. Telemedicine sites to date, we have 50 telemedicine sites to date. By next year, it will be expanded to at least 250 sites. And these are not only telemedicine sites to support healthcare in the region. These are also used as continuous education platform for health service providers. By 2025, all medical imaging will be entirely digital. The days of walking around with stacks of x-rays will come to an end, because all medical imaging will be entirely digital by the end of 2025. We'll have expansion of telehealth application, telepathology, teleradiology, expansion of the disease surveillance system and digitization of the system. We'll implement a program to train people in health informatics and managing electronic health records. We'll also be utilizing AI in medicine to help read results and tests. We are building digital leadership that will put us at the forefront of global innovation. We will develop an artificial intelligence ecosystem that powers industry from agriculture to public safety, positioning Guyana as a leader in AI innovation. Mr. Speaker, these are the investments that are needed as we build a modern, robust economy, one that will be able to compete with any globally. Mr. Speaker, Guyana has commenced the mineral mapping project, and our model will be one of the first of its kind in the world, where artificial intelligence and traditional techniques will be used to create a highly detailed map for mineral exploration, first in the world. This will allow miners to continue their business sustainably and open up possibilities for the exploration of critical minerals, including new areas of opportunities. Mr. Speaker, today I want to talk to you also about the potential of data centers. With the reduction in the cost of energy and the availability of energy, this now becomes an opportunity for us. The creation of data centers that will help us to advance high-skilled, high-paying jobs. I propose we leverage our abundant energy resource to establish an AI data center. The global demand for AI and data processing is surging, as is the demand for electricity to power them. Guyana will benefit tremendously by using the electricity generated from our natural gas to power a world-class AI data center. I want to share the immense benefits that this development will bring to our country. Economic growth and job creation, strategic global and regional positioning, sustainable development and environmental benefits, because the energy from our powering our data center will be from natural gas, which is less polluting than the conventional forms of energy powering data centers. So we will have greener data centers established here. That is a competitive advantage that we will have. Important in this era of digitization is the issue of digital sovereignty. To strengthen the nation's digital identity infrastructure, the Data Protection Act was passed to regulate the collection, keeping, processing, use, protection, and dissemination of personal data. We have created the architecture for Guyana's national digital ID card, which is currently being implemented, with card distribution expected to begin by December 2024. For those who were naysayers in relation to the digital ID card and the electronic passport, how wrong were you? If we did not take those, if we never took those proactive steps, today we'll be finding ourselves in a position where traveling would become difficult and where accessing other borders would have become difficult. Data sovereignty established framework to protect Guyana's data, ensuring it is stored, processed, and managed within the nation borders to keep for the future. As a government, we have engaged many providers, and we will continue to engage providers, receiving proposals so that our data sovereignty, our data space can be protected and safeguarded. Cybersecurity is another area that we must concentrate on. So we're investing in a robust cybersecurity strategy to protect critical national infrastructure and citizen data from cyber threats. Our digitization, AI, and modernization must also support our defense and security. We'll also continue to promote digital citizenship and expand digital literacy throughout the country. Fellow Guyanese, this is not just a plan, this is our future. A future where every Guyanese benefit from the opportunities that digital transformation brings. A future where Guyana stands tall as a leader, not just in the Caribbean, but on the world stage. We have already taken the first steps on this journey, but there is still much to do. The road ahead will not be without challenges. But if we work together, if we commit ourselves to this vision, there is nothing that can stop us. Let us build this digital Guyana, a nation of innovation, prosperity, and unity. Together, we'll create a future where every Guyanese can thrive in this digital world. Mr. Speaker, I am far from done. In building out this new economy, climate and biodiversity are key aspects of the future. I want to take this opportunity to laud our then President and the team for the creation and insightful thinking in the establishment of the Low Carbon Development Strategy. Today, this expanded LCDS 2030 is our government commitment for integrated economic growth and environmental preservation, executed on a policy-based approach to fossil fuel use and climate finance. In particular, it focuses on Guyana's vision to create a global model for recognizing the essential role of tropical forests in the fight against climate change and biodiversity conservation. Since its finalization in July 2022, after a 7-month national consultation, notable progress has been made on our LCDS 2030 priorities. Mr. Speaker, Guyana potential earning value from its forest asset is estimated to be between US $45 and $55 billion annually. That is the earning potential of this resource. Building from the 2019 Guyana-Norway Agreement, which saw Guyana earn $227 million for the period 2009 to 2025, we have achieved the world's first jurisdictional scale carbon credit under the R3 standard, enabling credit to access voluntary and compliance market, the world first. Secure the largest forest carbon credit sale to ever take place in the world, amounting to US $750 million. Received as of September 2024, US $237 million, and 100% is being invested back in the people, back in our communities. A guaranteed 15% is self-managed by our indigenous communities who choose to opt into the program. Every single indigenous community would benefit from this 15% direct transfer. Between 2023 and 2024, the indigenous communities receive almost $10 billion of payable proceeds. In 2024, they received not 15%, 26.5% of the proceeds received, ensuring that they did not receive less money than they did last year. A further global milestone was reached in mid-2024 when Guyana's credit became the first in the world to be eligible for Phase 1 of the United Nations Emissions Reduction Program for the aviation sector. This is now paving the way for new sales. Mr. Speaker, if you are to now take a look at our sustainable forestry practices, timber and timber products from Guyana will soon bear the prestigious PEFC international label and trademarks following our successes in the PEFC certification. Guyana was the first country, Mr. Speaker, Guyana was the first country in the Amazon region to sign a voluntary partnership agreement under the European Union initiative. This agreement is expected to enhance market access to Guyanese timber and timber product in Europe and beyond. Cumulatively, these investments from the LCDS are the largest spent on climate resilience in Guyana's history. At the same time, foundational work for other key sectors and priorities are ongoing. In particular, in the LCDS areas of sustainable cities, tongues, water management, and biodiversity conservation. We are also focusing heavily on environmental enhancement, natural beautification, projects that would enhance rural and urban life. The building out of parks, creation of center of wellness, safe and open space for family, the elderly, children. We are launching now, led by the Vice President and the Office of the President, a program that will see the rebuilding of our zoo to international standards, the enhancement of our botanical garden. Outside of this, with partnership with the King's Foundation, we are now rebuilding a model that will retrace, recreate, and enhance the cultural heritage of our city, Georgetown, building out a new green walk path, cycling lane, areas of heritage and culture, areas of history. These are all part of building a beautiful Guyana, a new Guyana, in which we must take pride, in which ownership, pride must be an important part of what makes us Guyanese. We can do all of this, but if each of us don't have pride in who we are, don't have pride in the environment, don't have pride in the way we treat each other, then none of it will mean anything to us. Mr. Speaker, in building out this new city, not only are we looking at the beautification, but we're also working on a new drainage plan, enhancing the drainage capacity of our city, a smart code to guide sustainable urban development, 2 demonstration neighborhood plans, a comprehensive heritage and conservation plan, a greenway strategy, and modernized urban maps. right in Region 3, as you cross the new Demerara River Bridge, you will see the Guyana China Friendship Park. Modern, green, innovative, safe, friendly, and family-oriented. Mr. Speaker, government has engaged Harvard University and Oxford University on the establishment of an International Center for Biodiversity. The focus of such a center will be to support Guyana's effort in protecting and restoration of critical ecosystem, expansion of Guyana's offering for natural-based solutions beyond carbon, and advancing Guyana's progress towards a global target of conserving at least 30% of the planet's lands and ocean by 2030. The next phase of technical work on sustainable urban development, water management, and biodiversity conservation will be complete in early 2025 and will pave the way for further stakeholder engagement and consultation. Guyana has called for a global coalition focused on advancing biodiversity conservation, supported by the launch of the Global Biodiversity Alliance Summit in the first quarter of 2025. The areas of focus of the Alliance would be creating a market for biodiversity credits, scaling biodiversity conservation debt swaps, accelerating biodiversity bonds, blueprint for biodiversity taxonomies, promoting nature-positive action. The Blavatnik School of Government at Oxford University will be working with the GBA to help develop the financing models and mechanisms envisioned above. The vision of the Global Biodiversity Alliance is to unite large stakeholders worldwide in a concerted effort to preserve and restore biodiversity for future generations. By fostering collaboration across sectors and regions, I am pleased to advise you, Mr. Speaker, that Guyana is taking the lead in the Global Biodiversity Alliance. Once again, the LCDS is powering our international diplomacy as a holistic, comprehensive, sustainable, resilient model for development and growth. Mr. Speaker, our food ecosystem, note, beyond the agriculture sector, our food ecosystem has benefited from tremendous investment. Our investment over the past 4 years to build a food ecosystem that is resilient and sustainable has been unmatched. The food ecosystem must be able to deal with climate, trade, transparent obligation, transparent processes, transport and logistics, storage, markets, yield, productivity, research and development, human resources, and agriculture practices. As you see, agriculture is one component of the food ecosystem we're developing. The food ecosystem is a much wider, complex undertaking that includes financing for agriculture, that includes insurance for agriculture, issues of climate change. It is about bringing together all the factors to ensure a viable food production and ecosystem. To achieve this, we must focus on standards and certification, infrastructure, subsidies, support, technology, and research and development. Our focus has led to investment and policies that is increasing production and confidence in this sector. Over the last 3.5 years, we have seen a 94% increase in private capital from local banks to the agricultural sector. A 94% increase. In addition to this, we have seen almost $7 billion of FDI in the agricultural sector. Self-sufficiency in corn, soya, beans, and hatching eggs will save us more than $80 million of import. We are building a food ecosystem that is focused on entrepreneurship and innovation, ensuring women and youths are in the forefront of this endeavor. Focusing on crop diversification, linkages, seeding and planting material, creating the largest seed and planting bank in the region. Moving from 15 plantlets to 1 million plantlets. Building a soil and tissue culture lab, genetic improvements, embryo transplant, whilst at the same time we have created opportunity for the expansion and opening up of 50,000 acres of new agricultural lands and 30,000 acres of new pastures. We are also expanding the aquaculture sector, targeting 2,000 tons of prawns by 2030 and 2.4 million kg of brackish water shrimp by 2030. We are also targeting the increase of rice production from 700,000 tons to 1 million tons by 2030. Investment in the honey industry. By the way, we are also looking to increase yield from 5.9 tons per hectare to 8 tons per hectare by 2030. Already, we have seen an improvement from 5.9 tons per hectare to 6.6 tons per hectare now. Mr. Speaker, you must be comforted. You and this House must be comforted by the level of accountability that we are demonstrating to the people of Guyana. You must be comforted to know that the resources passed in this National Assembly and invested in the different sectors are bearing such results. You must be comforted to know that our beautiful country is on a trajectory of growth and development. And if you're not comforted, Mr. Speaker, or any member of this House is not comforted, I can come and deliver some personal lessons. In sugar, Mr. Speaker, we have re-employed more than 1,500 workers. We have mechanized more than 5,000 hectares of land. We have built packaging plants at Albion and Blairmont. We're investing in the right skill set to ensure that we have the right human resource complement to match the investment we're making in this industry. Let me be clear. We are acutely aware of the challenges, of the hard decisions that are required to make this industry viable. But we are committed in ensuring this industry, as we are committed, and we've showed that commitment in bauxite, to make these industries viable because they are too structurally integrated in our local economies and our communities for us to allow them to fail or allow closure. To support the food ecosystem, we've increased investment in D&I by 760%. We have built almost 400 kilometers of farm-to-market access roads. And Mr. Speaker, now, in order to further boost production and investment I wish to make the following announcement. My government has restored agriculture and food production as a major centerpiece of our non-oil economy. Already we have witnessed the returns to the investment we are making. Given the importance of the poultry meat sector in agriculture, let me ensure, Mr. Speaker, I don't shortchange you. In order to support the poultry sector, Mr. Speaker, and to realize the aspirations we have for this sector, it is important that we make some further adjustments. We will be introducing in the next fiscal year new rules that will allow for accelerated depreciation of capital investment by poultry farmers. This will reduce the effective cost of investment in the sector and incentivize ramped-up investment and increased production. We intend for Guyana to be a poultry meat-producing capital of the Caribbean. Additionally, we are examining the regions and sectors in the Income Tax in Aid of Industry Act as eligible for tax holiday, with a view to possibly expanding these to include a number of specific geographic areas earmarked to be special economic development zones. Mr. Speaker, I now wish to turn our attention to health care. I've already outlined a series of measures that we have implemented to deliver quality health care to the people of our country. We're investing in the development of a healthcare system that ranks among the best globally, delivering affordable and accessible health care. In the last 4 years, we've invested close to $500 billion. Citizens across all regions will benefit from level 4 health care delivery. 12 state-of-the-art hospitals, 1,326 new beds covering every region will be delivered to our people. By 2030, we would have the new Georgetown Hospital also completed. We have removed VAT on medical supplies and corporate tax from private health facilities, resulting in over $15 billion private investment in health care. Investment in recapitalizing modern equipment, cutting-edge technology, and state-of-the-art facilities. Dialysis treatment centers, specialty eye hospital. These investments are already positioning Guyana as a leader in the region in eye care, organ transplant, knee and hip replacement, and brain surgeries. $12 billion in community health facilities. The volume of surgeries performed by the public healthcare system has increased by 100% over 2019. More than 22,000 surgeries are now completed in the public healthcare system. In addition to that, we have done more than 100 knee replacement, over 250 brain surgeries annually, and more than 1,000 CT scans at Georgetown Hospital every month. More than 1,000 CT scans at Georgetown Hospital every month. More than 8,500 persons benefited from medical treatment, such as heart bypass, radiotherapy, prosthetic, burn therapy care, and more importantly, 85 to 90% of drugs and medical supplies are now available in our public healthcare system. Mr. Speaker, more than 800 patients benefit annually from angiogram and stent. Over 17,000 children were screened at schools, 765 screened for hearing loss and assisted with hearing aid. We have decentralized dental services with 57 dental clinics across the country. New pathology lab through partnership with Mount Sinai and advanced technology has allowed us to reduce the waiting time for results from 3 months to 3 days. From 3 months to 3 days. Note carefully, Mr. Speaker, how we are choosing our partners. We are looking for the best in every area because we want to deliver the best to our people. Mr. Speaker, we have expanded cervical screening and treatment, expanded breast and prostate cancer program, employed 3,000 registered nurses, 2,000 nursing assistants, and 1,000 more doctors. That is what we have delivered to ensure that you have improved access to health care. Our training capacity for nurses has increased from 150 to 1,500 annually. By 2028, University of West Indies School of Medicine campus will be part of the new state-of-the-art teaching hospital in New Amsterdam. We are focusing heavily on primary health care to ensure early detection, early care, public health education, and preventative care. This is part of the public health system to promote a healthier population. Mr. Speaker, in order to ensure our healthcare system, which by 2030 would also see us manufacturing and producing our own vaccines at home and for the region. In order to further promote a healthier population, I wish now to make the following announcement. As previously elaborated, we are already investing heavily in improving the public healthcare system and in incentivizing private investment in healthcare. Earlier this year, we announced the distribution of vouchers to support eye tests for school children, as well for pensioners, and to support the purchase of spectacles where needed. We also announced the distribution of vouchers to support women the age of 21 in obtaining a screening test for cervical cancer. I now wish to announce that we will be introducing in 2025 a universal healthcare voucher of $10,000 per child to help finance the cost of basic menu of tests to establish baseline health data and to identify early warning signals so preventative action can be taken to avoid the onset of the main non-communicable disease. We anticipate that this measure will benefit as many as 500,000 persons countrywide and will therefore constitute an investment of $5 billion in the health and well-being of our population. $10,000 per person. $10,000 per person. This universal health voucher would help us as we work to build a healthy, strong, and resilient population. Mr. Speaker, I now wish to turn your attention to education. In the last 3.5 to 4 years, we have built 42 new nursery schools, 16 primary schools, 23 secondary schools. We have maintained and rehabilitated more than 355 nursery schools, 400 primary schools, and 117 secondary schools. We have focused on special needs education with the first 49 graduate teachers in this field now in the school system, and a further 102 under the Gold Scholarship Program. We are also focusing on e-education, smart classroom. The Learning Channel has allowed us, all of these, has allowed us 91%, has allowed us to take education, quality education, to 91% of hinterland and riverine communities. We are on track to achieve universal secondary education by the end of next year. We are also focusing on investment in sports, TVET, arts, digitization, innovation, AI, entrepreneurship, wellness and mental health, teachers training and welfare, facilities improvement and management. Between 2020 and 2023, Mr. Speaker, 446 teachers from the hinterland graduated from college. 446 teachers from the hinterland graduated from the Teachers Training College, while a further 598 are currently enrolled, almost 6 times the number trained between 2015 and 2020. We want our schools to be inclusive and safe, fostering an environment of mentorship, delivering quality citizens, and focusing also on civic education. To further expand education and enabling access for all, I now wish to make the following announcement. We have already announced the write-off of outstanding student loans, which is expected to total $5 billion before the end of this year. We could ultimately see a total of as much of $18 billion written off by the end of its existence. Meanwhile, we have already introduced the Gold Scholarship Program, which has benefited 29,000 students and has brought university education into homes of every single Guyanese family with internet connectivity. I now wish to announce that we will be proceeding with the delivery of our manifesto commitment to provide free university education at the University of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, in the interest of the children of Guyana, I pause for greater recognition from this House. This House should understand the importance of education and the transformative nature of education. And we must send that signal loudly to every corner of this country. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, starting from January 2025 semester, tuition fees will be completely abolished at the University of Guyana. This would continue the advancement of our human capital for a more prosperous future for our country and for all of the young people who will benefit from this initiative and their family. This measure will benefit in excess of 11,000 current students at UG immediately, and of course, all the new entrants in the future. The future belongs to all of these young people. Mr. Speaker, that initiative would cost us in excess of $18 billion. Mr. Speaker, I now wish to turn our attention to housing. Housing is an important cornerstone. Housing is an important cornerstone of our National Development Trust. We have invested heavily in housing over the last 4 years. Housing is not only delivering house lots or delivering houses. It's about empowerment, ownership, value creation, stability, families, community. It is about responsibility, building responsibility, enhancing livelihood. Today, I am pleased that with our investment over the last 4 years, we've achieved 76% of the 50,000 targeted house lots. Mr. Speaker, I recall when we first announced this target, many doubted us. The naysayers were there, but with hard work, dedication, commitment, and staying true to our promise, we have been able to deliver on this, a difficult and ambitious task. The investment in housing has created wealth transfer, well over $100 billion. We have regularized 15 squatter settlements, built almost 2,100 new houses, with 1,500 additional houses under construction. We are now undertaking the ambitious task of developing the new city, Silica City, a city of innovation, green infrastructure, future planning, a city in which modern technology and innovation will form part of everyday living. We have reestablished the mortgage interest relief, which would have benefited more than 6,000 persons. More than 6,000 persons. We are investing in new water treatment plants to ensure that by the end of 2025, close to 90% of our population would have access to good quality water and ensure also good level of service. 60 communities, new communities, are now benefiting for the first time from water supply. By 2030, we will realize the full economic potential of our vast freshwater reserve. And that is the ambition, to ensure by 2030 we can realize the full ambition of our freshwater reserve. Mr. Speaker, I wish now to turn our attention to infrastructure. Our investment on infrastructure is focused on connecting communities, people, industry, and services. Investing in infrastructure to stimulate growth, grow national connectivity and individual wealth, whilst reducing the cost of doing business, bringing comfort, and modernizing our physical environment. Hundreds of billions of dollars has already been invested in public infrastructure. More than 4,000 community roads would have been completed. hundreds of kilometers of urban roads, hundreds of kilometers of hinterland roads, new highways are under construction, bridges, hinterland airstrips. The aviation sector is undergoing major transformation also. We've invested in infrastructure to ensure regional connectivity. These investments will see the connection by road of Region 8 and 9, Maburuma, Port Kaichuma, Machu Ridge, Kwakwani, Oriala, Linden to Kwakwani, Letem to villages in the Deep South. In every corner of our country, in every region, we are bridging the divide and building the future. We are also investing in an efficient river transport system. Not only the bridging of the Demerara River and the new 4-lane bridge across the Berbice River, the new bridge, the new Wisma Bridge, the hundreds of bridges we have constructed all across the country, including between Linden and Letem. But we are also thinking long into the future. The Kurupukari Bridge, the Quarantine River Bridge, the establishment of a pontoon service to service Falls Mouth to Bartica in support of the Timeri to Sand Hill Road Link, the Parika to Goshen Road Link, the continuation of the highway from Schoonard to Parika, examining the viability of a light passenger rail system and a cargo rail connecting to the Deepwater Port facility. These are all plans being examined and underway in fulfilling Ambition 2030 and Vision 2030. Mr. Speaker, public infrastructure would also see massive transformation and investment in waterfront development at Charity, Parika, Freedom Hoop, Stabroek, Wisma, the Berbice River. We are rehabilitating all landing facilities along the Demerara and Berbice River, linking them to expanded production, opening up opportunities for tourism, and we'll be investing in both transport to support the productivity and production of produce from the Berbice and Demerara River so they have easier access to markets. Before the first quarter of 2025, we'll be delivering to farmers in these two rivers river transport that would allow them transport of their produce and access to the markets. We're investing to support a transport system to connect people and production to markets. We're upgrading Airdrome, and it's important for me to highlight that at the GCA, we are building a modern, functional, and A-class authority. We have upgraded the legislation, successfully completed the ICAO audit. We are number one in safety and oversight capability in the 34 states of the Americas. We have invested in a new instrument landing system, an automatic dependent surveillance system, an automated weather observing system, giving real-time data. All of this are foundational work as we aspire by 2030 to have a civil aviation authority that is fully automated and one in which you have 100% electronic filing and is above class by international standards. In order to further enhance and build out our transport system. And in order to allow commuters and our population to benefit from reduced costs of transportation, I now wish to make the following announcement. There are many more announcements that will come as the Minister presents his budget. As I have already elaborated, my government has been investing heavily in transport infrastructure, including to improve ease and convenience to commuters. The new highways that we have built on the east bank of the Demerara, for example, have already saved us millions of man-hours, which translated direct monetary benefit as well as a substantial quality of life improvement. Every day, we receive text messages thanking the government for the investment in these highways. We are, of course, at an advanced stage of building a new bridge across the Demerara River, and at the early stages of developing a new bridge across the Berbice River. While the aim of further reducing the cost of commute, especially for the thousands who cross the Berbice and Demerara rivers daily, when the new Demerara River Bridge is completed and brought into operation, we will abolish the bridge tolls on both those rivers. We will abolish the bridge tolls on both the Berbice and Demerara River and the Wisma River. This will save commuters in excess of $3.5 billion annually, and that is taking today's use. With these announcements, the use of these facilities would obviously increase and expand rapidly. Mr. Speaker, in August 2020, my administration inherited the Guyana Power and Light Inc. that was starved, yes, I know. The room becomes anxious. In August 2020, my administration inherited the Guyana Power and Light Inc. that was starved of adequate resources and had a dire need for investment to effectively deliver service to a customer base that increased by 10% and peak demand that expanded by 12% from 2015 and 2019. During the period 2015 and 2019, GPL struggled with insufficient inventory to effectively execute its planned network expansion and maintenance program. With respect to the operation of the grid, this challenge was further exacerbated by the insufficient investment in generating capacity and the maintenance of existing generator units. This resulted in significant system disturbances and frustrations to customers. Since 2020, the government has invested a sum of $28.1 billion in expanding Guyana's generation, transmission, and distribution system, adding 127.7 megawatts of generating capacity to the GPL grid to keep pace with a 64% increase in peak demand and 19% increase in customer base since 2019. Our investment in the sector is 173% higher than the $10.3 billion made by the previous government, of which only $4.1 billion was invested in 17.4 megawatt of additional power, which, by the way, we brought into operation. The investment in the electricity sector by my administration included expansion and upgrade of the distribution network, substations, installation and replacement of more than 100,000 meters, as well as close to 4,000 transformers and laying almost 2,800 kilometers of distribution network, and expanded and upgraded 3 substations. Since 2020, we have provided electricity to 27 communities that were not previously served and upgraded. Since taking office in 2020, the government has maintained the same electricity tariff despite substantial increases in fuel prices. In 2019, the weighted average fuel price was US $64 per barrel, compared to the current average price of US $104 per barrel. As a result of the rise in fuel prices, fuel, which previously accounted for 53% of the power company revenue, now represents 84%. Notwithstanding this, we have not increased the rates for electricity in this country. As we work on modernizing this sector, we are preparing additional tenders that will deliver more substations, transmission lines, feeders to further improve the power system reliability and resilience. These tenders will deliver 230 kV transmission lines and substations to transfer bulk power to West and East Berbice, as well as Linden. Each new substation that GPL will construct will be completed with new distribution feeders, fully equipped with all relevant equipment ready for a smart grid. Additionally, the development of 5 solar PV farms, including 18 megawatts, is underway, with plans for 3 more, adding another 15 megawatts. These investments aim to enhance the reliability of the power grid and improve access to electricity for new customers. Our investment in renewable energy have been ramped up, resulting in a 224% increase in electricity generation from solar, hydropower, and other renewable sources since 2020. Key projects include the solar farms in Madja, Wakenham, and Leg 1, along with the distribution of 30,000 solar PV systems to hinterland and riverine communities. By 2030, Guyana power demand is expected to triple, with plans to meet this surge primarily through natural gas and the Milas Falls Hydro Project, alongside expansions in wind, solar, and other hydropower plants. GPL plans to achieve a full-fledged smart grid by 2030, which will comprise a distribution management system, smart distribution equipment, and complete advanced metering infrastructure. With a smart grid, GPL will achieve a significant reduction in the spread and number of outages, and we shall hold them accountable. These investments we are making, the management of GPL will and must be held accountable to deliver the results from these investments. By 2030, more than 50% of the country's electricity needs will also be met by renewable sources and natural gas. Looking ahead to 2040, with a peak load forecasted at 1,326 megawatts, in the next decade, we intend also to collaborate with Suriname, Brazil, and French Guyana on a 3,000 megawatt power interconnection system, underscoring the country's commitment to energy security and a shift towards renewable energy. Mr. Speaker, in keeping with our commitment to reduce the cost of electricity, I wish now to make the following announcement and commitment. We will be reducing by half, by 50%, the cost of electricity for every consumer in Guyana. And this will be done long before the end of 2025. This investment will see savings in excess of 250 million US dollars. This is an injection of 250 million US dollars by the government of Guyana that will positively impact disposable income by the reduction in the cost of electricity. That is more than $50 billion back in the pockets of the Guyanese people. More than $50 billion back in the pockets of the Guyanese people. This is where the revenue is going. This is where the investment is being made. In the lives of people, in the comfort of people, in the disposable income. This is how prosperity is built. By enhancing livelihood, improving infrastructure, giving better access to housing, healthcare, education, delivering higher quality services, and empowering people and families. Mr. Speaker, I'm about 50% through. Our short-term strategy to use gas as a transition fuel to generate electricity, with the government of Guyana commissioning the 300 megawatt combined cycle plant in 2025, which will deliver generating costs at less than 5 US cents per kilowatt hour, is a major part of the energy transformation. The construction of the pipeline, integrated power NGL plant, transmission line, substation is progressing and is expected to be commissioned in 2025. We have advertised phase 2 of utilizing an additional 75 million units to fill the pipeline. By 2025, we project 300 megawatt of combined cycle power, delivering 2,600 gigawatts hour into the grid, sufficient to meet demand until augmented by phase 2 gas. The Wales Development Hub is an integral part in the energy equation and consumption, as this will create opportunities for industry, agro-processing, manufacturing, open up new opportunities for jobs, create new industries, and expand the economic base of our country. Our gas strategy is based on providing electricity at a low price for onshore development, while seeking to monetize gas for export in the medium term. Mr. Speaker, between 2020 and 2024, the Petroleum Management Program in Guyana achieved significant milestones. A remarkable 25 discoveries were made in this period, with 22 of these occurring in the Stabroek Block alone. Looking ahead, the projection for the medium and long-term plan from 2025 and beyond are ambitious. The sector is on track to exceed 1 million barrels per day by 2027 and reach 1.5 million barrels per day by 2030, supported by 10 production facilities, 3 active development, and the recent definition of a 7th project, alongside several others in development. Of course, we have made our thinking very clear and public in relation to the 7 and future projects. There is no second-guessing our policy and thinking on these matters. Mr. Speaker, additionally, 2 gas-to-energy facilities are expected to be operational by 2030, along with the establishment of associated industry, both upstream and downstream. To prepare our workforce for the growing oil and gas sector, my government announced last year the construction of the Guyana Technical Training College at Port Morant, Berbice, an investment worth $120 million US. Since its announcement, Construction has commenced and is projected to be completed by 2025. In the interim period, GTTCI has completed the commissioning of an on-land model FPSO called the Factor Simulator, which is a part of the upskilling efforts. The simulator results in annual savings of costs associated with training personnel in Canada. Mr. Speaker, it pleases me to announce that the Stabroek Rock operator, ExxonMobil, has communicated to the government its intention to make GTTCI a hub for FPSO skills training for operations across the globe. This news is a realization of our vision of making Guyana an education hub for the world. Mr. Speaker, I wish now to turn our attention to the mining sector. We inherited a mining sector that had virtually collapsed under the previous administration. From 2020 to 2024, the mining sector in Guyana underwent transformative changes that not only revitalized the industry, but also significantly benefited miners and the broader economy. We have seen between 2015 and 2019, production in the bauxite sector, which contracted by 61.9%, resulting in 50% reduction in the labor force. Yes, 50% of the reduction in the labor force in bauxite in Region 10 between 2015 and 2019. Today, with sound policies, we have seen expanded investment in the bauxite industry of more than $120 million US, resulting in the creation of 500 jobs since we assumed office in Region 10. The quarry and other mining sectors, which struggled under the previous administration, also registered significant growth over the last 4 years. These sectors experienced GDP growth of 255.3% between 2020 and 2023. Since 2020, there have been 21 new quarry licenses issued, reflecting the government's foresight and the growing interest in quarry operations and the demand for construction material. Looking beyond quarrying, the gold mining sector is also poised for a major uptake in production. 3 large-scale gold mining companies have announced plans and currently have development that will propel gold production to 1 million ounces by 2030. Significant investment have been made in exploration by these companies. Looking ahead, the medium and long-term plan for 2025 and beyond outlines an ambitious vision for the sustainable growth in the mining sector, closely aligned with the LCDS 2030. A key priority is the completion of a multi-year mineral mapping initiative aimed at supporting low-impact mining and improving planning in mineral-rich areas. The government seeks to attract at least 3 large-scale mining companies by 2030, with a goal of reaching gold decoration, as I said, of more than 1 million ounces. Additionally, bauxite production is set for progressive expansion starting in 2024, alongside an anticipated growth in stone quarry operation, which is expected to produce 4.3 million tons of materials annually. Manufacturing sector also saw steady growth from 2020 to 2023. Mr. Speaker, by 2030, we envision a fully operational network of industrial estates across the country, with the government prioritizing the development of new estates in various regions based on needs assessment. Further, the manufacturing sector is poised for significant growth, particularly with the completion and operationalization of the Wales Development Authority and the implementation of the gas-to-energy project. The anticipated reduction in electricity costs will enhance the feasibility and attractiveness of manufacturing activities in Guyana. Additionally, Guyana envisions a manufacturing sector that not only embraces technological innovation, but also thrives through strategic investment in research and development. The services industry is another industry that grew rapidly between 2020 and 2023. The cumulative growth in this industry over the last three and a half years is more than 30%. The expansion can be attributed to several government initiatives aimed at fostering broad-based access and innovation within the ICT sector. Key measures included the liberalization of the telecommunications sector and removal of VAT on data and cell phone services. Since the liberalization of the telecommunications sector, there has been a significant reduction in bandwidth costs, improved efficiency, and access. Our vision for 2030 is to fully operationalize all call centers and maximize their potential, creating thousands of jobs. These initiatives will not only strengthen our services sector, but also contribute to the long-term economic growth and job creation across various regions of our country. Mr. Speaker, our ambition is to foster a new era of wealth creation. Guyana's economy is not just growing, it is being transformed, restructured at its core. We are moving beyond the days of merely extracting resources and exporting them. Vision 2030 will be focused on value creation right here at home. It is about adding layers of opportunity to every resource we pull from the ground, every drop of oil we pump, every grain of paddy we harvest, every ton of bauxite ore we extract, every ounce of gold that is mined, and every tree that is felled. We are not just talking about economic growth, we are talking about embedding value creation at the heart of our economic model. This means that every sector, every worker, and every business must see pathways to elevation and improvement. It's about ensuring that the fruits of our development are not just measured in GDP, but in human potential. We want our workers to aspire to higher stations and levels of competence. A graduate teacher should see a clear path to become an expert teacher tomorrow. A nurse have opportunities to specialize and advance, contributing to better healthcare outcomes for all. This is about building an economy where every citizen, regardless of their starting point, can continuously grow, learn, and achieve their fullest potential. It is about making sure that our progress as a nation is reflected in the individual progress of our people. The new model of economic development goes to the heart of our understanding of economic prosperity. For us, economic prosperity extends beyond mere financial wealth. It is about creating an environment where every citizen has the opportunity to thrive, not just in material terms, but in quality of life. True prosperity means access to quality education, health care, and decent work, where individuals can develop their skills, achieve their potential, and lead fulfilling lives. Mr. Speaker, important to the existence of every nation is the culture, youth, and sports. We are building an ecosystem to support cultural development, youth development, and sport development, in which tens of billions of dollars is being invested and will be invested to create world-class facilities in every region, support coaching, building out of community facilities, community grounds, utilizing sports as a means of wellness, as an important tool in the improvement of health. We're investing in building out a sporting infrastructure that is second to none. New stadiums, athletic and recreational facilities, wellness centers are pivotal to enhancing quality of life. building capacity, and giving equitable opportunities to our sportsmen and women. Our government has made significant investment, and we have also seen significant result. An important part of what we are doing is to give our athletes, our sportsmen and women, the best exposure, both locally, regionally, and internationally. We're in partnership with some of the finest sporting institutions globally, including the University of Florida. Our government has commenced the building out and rehabilitation of sporting facility in every corner of our country, touching every single sport type, whether it is badminton, squash, cricket, football, volleyball, car racing, motor racing, horse racing, every single sphere of sports we have invested in. Because we believe that sports has that imaginative capacity and capability in building positive citizens and creating positive outcomes. We are also investing heavily in youth training. More than 50,000 youths were trained in soft and technical skills. Over 8,670 youths have been engaged in 14 programs: robotics, engineering, carpentry, masonry. All of these are investment to empower young people, to give our young people better opportunities. But important to this, Mr. Speaker, is our heritage. There has not been a better time for culture and creativity in Guyana than at present. We can start with a cultural policy. A revised draft framework for a national cultural policy will be put to public consultation in the new year. One that not only focuses on the fundamental issues of integrating culture into development, heritage preservation, and the growth of creative industry, but one that anticipates more recent concerns, like the impact of the digital ecosystem on culture and the dangers and opportunities posed by generative artificial intelligence. We have not waited, however, for the implementation of the policy to act expeditiously on areas that are actionable in the short term. The reinstatement and upgrading of the Guyana Prize for Literature, making it an annual event and expanding the categories for submissions, has resulted in recognition and reward of homegrown literary talent across all areas. The Creative and Cultural Industries Grant, which will see its fourth iteration next year, remains unrivaled in the Caribbean in terms of both the level of the individual grants offered and the total grant money available. So far, over $450,000 US has been awarded to eligible creative artists and entrepreneurs, providing critical financial support across a broad spectrum of creative goods and services. Moreover, the meaningful involvement of local performing arts practitioners has become a staple of state events, providing both income and exposure to some of our brightest talents. Looking to the very near future, my administration has begun laying the groundwork to establish in Guyana a world-class film production environment, one that draws upon the tremendous working talent available in the industry across the diaspora and also locally in the creative talent area. Our government, through the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports, is currently negotiating a co-production agreement with one key international partner, an agreement that will precipitate the establishment of a National Film Commission. In the area of heritage, my administration continues to pay homage to a rich and diverse heritage. The most notable commemoration being the initiatives and event last year to commemorate the 200-year anniversary of the 1823 Demerara Rebellion, an uprising of over 10,000 of our enslaved ancestors that would help to trigger emancipation a decade later. Mr. Speaker, my government has embarked on the creation of an integrated sports economy, which will be a diverse ecosystem that thrives on the interplay between sports, entertainment, and culture. Vision 2030 seeks to position Guyana as an attractive venue through public-private investment for e-formula racing, horse racing, athletics, cricket, football, cycling, as core sporting attractions, coupled with entertainment and cultural experiences. The concept builds a multifaceted year-round destination that leverages the unique attributes of each sport and event to create a symbiotic relationship to drive economic growth through tourism, media, and local employment. The opportunities across the sports economy can boost GDP, create jobs, improve infrastructure, foster social unity, promote global recognition, and leave a lasting legacy of health, culture, and economic resilience. It offers a dynamic intersection between sports, culture, commerce, and driving comprehensive regional development. This sports economy we are building would increase sports participation, enhance cultural exchanges, create community identity and pride, expose us to broadcasting and media, bringing more attention to Guyana as a destination, creating sustainability and green sports initiative. We will also be investing heavily in the first regional cultural market at Palmyra, investing in music and entertainment synergy, investing in recording studios so that our local talent can have the infrastructure to support the development of their talent. The sports economy we are building would contribute positively to healthier population, corporate wellness, technology and innovation, and create a society and a population that are more united with a greater sense of pride and focus. Mr. Speaker, you and I know too well the challenges associated with establishing a new revenue-earning sector for our country that is rich in biodiversity, culture, beauty, charisma, and vibe. The tourism potential of Guyana is unique and can rival any in the world. The future of our economy is one that transcends traditional industries and harnesses the power of transformative sustainable sector. Our government has embarked on building a visionary economy where the pillars of ecotourism, sports and entertainment tourism, health tourism, and business tourism can foster a dynamic ecosystem that promotes environmental stewardship, cultural enrichment, and economic inclusivity, added with positive living and wellness centers. Through strong leadership and visionary policies, our economy has attracted tourism interest and investment while providing opportunities for our local private sector. In Region 4 alone, we have added more than 800 new rooms, with an additional 1,400 rooms expected by the end of 2025. In Region 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and 10, we expect 790 plus new rooms by 2026. Guyana will be the home for 14 new hotels and resorts with 9 international brands like the Marriott, Four Point Sheraton, Hyatt Place, Best Western, Blue Ridge, AC Marriott, Hilton, and DoubleTree. All driven by the private sector with investment worth more than $200 billion. These hotels will create thousands of jobs. And we are also preparing to have our human resource ready for those jobs with investment in the National Hospitality and Training Center, and also with specific executive program to fast-track the development of our human resource talent to service this sector. Mr. Speaker, it pleases me to announce that Guyana has been approached by one of the world's leading ecotourism hotel operators, Kent and Abercrombie, to operate in Guyana. While discussions are still ongoing, this potential partnership signals to the world that the Guyana product is worth premium dollars. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt that it will please you to hear that Guyana has been the recipient of the latter Achievement Awards for Best in Sustainable Tourism, the PATW Destination of the Year in Ecological Tourism, the PATW Travel Awards for Tourism Minister of the Year, silver place at the 4th edition of the WTM Latin American Responsible Tourism Awards under the Best Initiative of Indigenous Tourism and Traditional Communities. Mr. Speaker, you're there. The investment we are making in the hinterland is transforming their tourism product. The quality of product, the offering, and all of this has been accelerated because of what the revenues from the LCDS has been able to do for those communities. Guyana has also received nominations for the Green Destination of the Year at the Caribbean Green Awards, the World Travel Award South America Responsible Tourism Award, the Leading Sustainable Destination by the World Sustainable Travel and Hospitality Award, and Iwakarama River Lodge was nominated as South America's Leading Eco Lodge at the WTM Responsible Tourism Awards. Visitor arrivals grew by almost 269% between 2020 and 2023. Our tourism vision targets 3 million persons passing through our economy by 2030. This is critically needed to utilize the services that both government and the private sector are investing in. We have welcomed 6 new airlines, including British Airways, United Airways, and Avianca. 238 tourism businesses and guides have been licensed. These major accomplishments emphasize our need for more infrastructure and human capacity building. We are bolstering capacity building with training, investment, mentoring, standardization, and regulations. Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased also to say we are examining different proposals for the expansion of the Chedijagan International Airport to Terminal 2 and the expansion of Aerodrome and possibility of a new international airport at Letem. Mr. Speaker, for our government, women participation is critical to the development and expansion of our country. We must ensure that women are participating more fully in the economic opportunities of our country. We must be able to add directly to the disposable income of women in our society. This will be a fundamental pillar in the creation of a modern society. Mr. Speaker, my government not only recognizes the invaluable contributions of our women, as well as their potential to be self-sufficient and contribute to the development of the country and become revenue contributors to their families, we are acting on it. We have witnessed female participation in law enforcement be increased by 44%. We have seen over 70% of gold scholarship being awarded to women, and 65% students enrollment at the University of Guyana being female. We have more than 12,000 women who have seen their lives change under the Women Innovation and Investment Program. We've introduced the WIN app, which features over 1,000 women-owned businesses. Notably this year, we had groundbreaking training of over 500 women in carpentry, masonry, plumbing, welding, and electrical installation, all of whom will achieve a UK City and Guilds certification through Nations University. For the first time, more than 10,000 women are earning an income under the National Pathway Workers Project. And guess what? 70% of the persons on that program are women. This has resulted in more than $8 billion of disposable income in the hands of our women. That is new revenue, new disposable income in the hands of these women. 62% of the more than 22,000 regional economic transformation grants were awarded to women. 62% of the transformation grants were awarded to women. Today, as I stand here, you have approximately 33% women farmers, and 76% of women constitute the agro-processing industry. Our aim is to have 35% of our women as part of the agro-food system, and by 2030, at least 50% of newly established agribusinesses ventures should be led by women and youth, making them key contributors to the food economy. Women will continue to play a major role in the development of Guyana. Mr. Speaker, our elderly are a reservoir of wisdom and experience. Our government is committed to ensuring that our pensioners, who have given their best years in service to this country, can retire with the dignity and the respect they deserve. Not only have we increased the old age pension by 75%, but we have also invested in their personal welfare. We've invested in ensuring pensions are delivered in a timely manner with ease. These pensions are now payable through places of worship, post offices, MMG, direct bank deposits, and with deliveries to the hinterland, remote and rural communities directly in the villages. And where we have pensioners that are shut in, we're delivering it at home. This is what quality service must look like and feel like. 50% of our elderly benefit from a $30,000 per month electricity and water subsidies, which, by the way, was removed by the previous administration. Home-based care for elders provided by the Ministry of Health. Our elderly benefit also from the $17,000 voucher towards eye care. Mr. Speaker, 2030 and beyond for our elderly will require consideration of volunteer and mentorship program, senior entrepreneurship support, combating loneliness and social isolation, digital literacy programs, age-friendly communities, robotics and AI in elderly care, accessible digital services, so they too can be part and feel part of this transformation. Mr. Speaker, in order to further support our pensioners and elderly, I wish now to make the following announcement. It will recall that we implemented earlier this year an increase in the minimum pension payable to pensions under the National Insurance Scheme from $35,000 to $43,000 monthly. However, in our interaction with communities across the country, especially pensioners and the elderly, we thought it necessary that we must and should do more. We recognize that a number of persons continue to face challenges accessing their benefits from the NIS. In order to address these, we have earmarked a sum of $10 billion as a one-off injection into the NIS to help address some of these challenges. The detail of which will be outlined in the 2025 budget. This, Mr. Speaker, would allow contributors who would not have met the requirement to benefit from an injection, a cash injection, that will support a better quality of living for them and allow them the opportunity of benefiting from their contribution. Mr. Speaker, from 2020 to present, we provided more than $28 billion in assistance to families in need through public assistance program and other support program. We have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in assistance to persons living with disability and in the construction of new learning and training lab. In further support to families and creating a child-friendly system, I wish now to make the following announcement. We have already been using interventions in our tax system to promote a number of policy objectives. In particular, we introduced mortgage interest relief to allow first-time homeowners who have mortgages on income tax deductible in relation to the interest expenses they incur annually on their mortgages. Similarly, we've introduced an income tax deductible in relation to the premiums paid by taxpayers for life and medical insurance. Those two measures have significantly increased the income tax threshold for persons benefiting from these two deductibles. In similar nature, I now wish to announce that we will be introducing next year a new income tax deductible under which each child entitled one of their parents to claim an additional deduction of $10,000 per month for the purpose of determining their chargeable income that is subject to income tax. I see the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Carl Greenwich, looking at me anxiously. Maybe he wants to go back to work. So what this in effect means, in other words, is that for every child, one of their parents will be entitled an additional income tax threshold of $120,000. More than they would have previously have. Of course, one of the parents, if you have two children, would take you to $140,000. $10,000 per child. So two children is $20,000. And if you want to be futuristic, Sanjeev, 3 children would entitle you to $30,000. $30,000 per month. So this initiative would see the tax deductible, the tax deduction on your salary, improving your disposable income and expanding your non-tax income. In effect, that is what it will do for you. You see how much interest this subject is generating in the House? Even one Bishop Echel seems agitated. Mr. Speaker, indigenous development is also key to our government and the future. No development in Guyana can exclude our indigenous community, whose presence predates all our communities. Over the last 4 years, our government has spent more than $11 billion in our indigenous community. We have allocated billions of dollars on investment, community infrastructure, investment in water, rehiring of 2,800 CSOs, granting of more than 1,000 scholarships under the Gold Program, having almost 1,000 of our hinterland teachers either trained or in training, expanded our investment in land titling. All of this would have contributed to the significant improvement in the life and livelihood of our hinterland and riverine populations. Mr. Speaker, let me turn our attention now to foreign relations, an area that has received substantial attention in this PP administration. As you know, we live in a challenging world, one defined by endless opportunity, but also a world in which powerful players wield the instruments of power. While there is no limit to the high-faulting rhetoric of peace, equality, and justice, the international community has collectively failed to defend the principles, rules, norms, institutions, and obligations necessary for a just world order. And this is why today, leadership is at a premium. The international stage of power, politics, however, has no room for the weak-minded, for naysayers, for the myopic, nor for those who lack the ethical and moral basis to take up the mantle of leadership on the global stage. The world knows that those who have rigged elections at home have lost the credibility and the right to speak on behalf of anyone else. In a connected world, people know better. The world knows what happened here between March and August 1st, 2020. It takes courageous and insightful leadership built on strong and enduring commitment to democratic values for foreign relations to be successful. Over the past 4 years, we have carefully reconstructed our global image, and the world is watching. The dreams of past generations for a better country and a better world have now arrived at our doorsteps. My administration takes this challenge not as a burden, but as a springboard from where the PEPC will continue to serve you, the people of this land. This land is our land. We no doubt live in a world dominated by varied degree and strength and significance of powers. In the realm of international security, we are elected for a 2-year term on the Security Council of the United Nations. On the pressing planetary issue of climate change and food security, we have deepened and broadened our innovation to the point where Guyana is now recognized in the top tier of global leaders. In the area of diplomacy, we have built out a vast network of reciprocal relationship that will bolster not only our national interests, but also that of the Americas and beyond. The Global South must not stand by and watch the world spin us around. We need to lead boldly and constructively. Guyana is charging full force ahead at the bilateral, regional, and multilateral levels. You should know that we have used our seat on the Security Council to rally the call for good global governance and for peace among nations. In keeping with our consistent and principled position in relation to adherence to international rule of law and the UN Charter, respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity, human rights, and democratic values. We have condemned the senseless terrorist attacks on Israel by Hamas. There is no justification for taking innocent lives in pursuit of political ends. We have equally and emphatically condemned the wanton destruction of Gaza, where more than 40,000 souls, most of them women and children, have perished. We have also condemned, and those who do so again, the destructive incursions into the West Bank. But words are never enough, and certainly not enough when a mighty military machine is free to do as they want without any recourse or respect for what the world think and believe. This is why, in our own small way, we felt obligated to provide some humanitarian support to the suffering people of Gaza. In this context, we feel obligated to acknowledge the decision of President Macron to ban French arms sales to the region. I take this opportunity now to call on all parties to the regional conflict to show restraint, to engage in dialogue, and to work towards a lasting peace in the Middle East. On the Russia-Ukraine war, we have been crystal clear that the rule of law must prevail, and that the territorial integrity and national sovereignty of Ukraine must be respected. We know what is happening in Sudan, where more than 20,000 people have been killed and thousands wounded. Guyana played its role. And right here in the Caribbean, Guyana played its role in the formation of Haiti's Presidential Transitional Council. We also underline the importance of the multilateral security support mission. Peace must come to Haiti. We will not leave Haiti behind. Over the past 4 years, we have signed numerous memorandum of agreements that will bring greater benefits to our country and all our people. This august body and citizens all across our 83,000 square miles should know that we have signed agreements spanning financial, economic, industrial, technical, and educational agreements with Kuwait, Qatar, France, Ghana, the Netherlands, the UAE, China, Morocco, India, Belize, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Saudi Arabia, Cyprus, Dominican Republic, and the United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, as nations rise, the arc of international engagement widens. And so we are delighted to embrace new partners. Our new campaign of diplomatic engagement also saw us filling posts that have been left vacant, among them Brazil, Venezuela, Switzerland, and Belgium. We also established a new mission in Qatar. New missions to Guyana have been established by Belize, Dominican Republic, UAE, Qatar, and France. Over the period, Mr. Speaker, we have hosted more than 25 global and regional leaders. I can assure you that these engagements and MOUs are substantive and impactful for Vision 23. The Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela continues to nourish the controversy of the Essequibo, a region that is indivisible to our territorial integrity and fundamental to national sovereignty. We are a peaceful nation and a peaceful people. We are adamant that the UN Charter should undergird all practices of international diplomacy, and there is no substitute for international law. We have therefore time and again reminded Venezuela of the sanctity of the 1899 arbitral award that settled the boundary between Guyana and Venezuela. Venezuela should know that the ICJ is the rightful and final arbiter of the ill-begotten controversy it has provoked, and the geopolitical brinksmanship has rarely yielded rewards desired. Guyana foreign relations are built on the bedrock of powerful friends and formidable allies. No one should misjudge or resolve to defend these 83,000 square miles.